I stared at the clinic's pristine white ceiling, my heart hammering as Dr. Kim prepared the IVF procedure. This was it. My chance at fatherhood on my own terms, without the complications of bonds or alphas who'd want to control every aspect of my life. "You're doing great," the nurse whispered, squeezing my hand. I'd saved for 3 years for this moment. At 28, I was tired of waiting for some fairy tale romance that would probably never come. I wanted a baby, and I was financially stable enough to provide a good life. That was enough. The procedure took less than 20 minutes. Afterward, Dr. Kim smiled warmly. "Rest for a bit, then you're free to go. We'll see you in 2 weeks for the pregnancy test." Those 2 weeks crawled by with agonizing slowness. I analyzed every twinge, every wave of fatigue, wondering if it meant anything. When I finally returned to the clinic, my palms were slick with nervous sweat. The test was positive. I burst into tears right there in the examination room, overwhelmed with joy and terror in equal measure. Dr. Kim congratulated me, but something flickered across his face, something that made my stomach clench. "Is everything okay?" I asked. "Everything's fine. Let's do an ultrasound to confirm, shall we?" The ultrasound gel was cold against my skin. Dr. Kim moved the wand slowly, his eyes fixed on the screen. His expression shifted from professional calm to barely concealed shock. What is it?" Panic seized my chest. "You're carrying quadruplets." The room spun. "That's impossible. You said with IVF there might be twins at most." "This is highly unusual," he admitted, his voice tight. I need to check something. I'll be right back." He practically fled the room. I lay there, trembling, one hand pressed against my still flat stomach. For babies? How was I supposed to manage 4 babies alone? The financial calculations spiraled through my mind, quadruple everything I'd planned for. Dr. Kim returned 15 minutes later, accompanied by the clinic director, Dr. Choi. Her face was ashen. "Mr. Han, we need to talk about something very serious," Dr. Choi began, wringing her hands. "There's been a terrible mistake." My blood ran cold. "What kind of mistake?" "The genetic sample we used wasn't from our donor bank." Her voice cracked. "There was a mix-up in our storage facility. We used the wrong sample entirely." I sat up so fast I nearly fell off the examination table. "You what?" "I'm so deeply sorry." "Sorry? Sorry." My voice rose to a shout. "Whose sample did you use? Who is the father of my babies?" Dr. Choi and Dr. Kim exchanged terrified glances. "Tell me right now, or I'm calling my lawyer and the police," I said, my voice shaking with rage. Dr. Choi pulled out her phone with trembling hands and showed me a news article. The headline made my heart stop. Kang Ji-hoon, alleged crime boss, acquitted in latest trial. The photo showed a devastatingly handsome man in an expensive suit, his sharp eyes cold as winter. Even in a still image, his alpha presence was overwhelming, the kind that made omegas instinctively want to submit or flee. That's a Mafia alpha," I whispered. "You used a Mafia alpha's genetic material for my IVF? It wasn't supposed to be here." Dr. Kim blurted. "Someone paid us to store it secretly. We didn't know whose it was until we checked the records after seeing your ultrasound." "So you're running illegal storage operations, and you accidentally inseminated me with a crime lord's stolen genetic material?" My laugh was slightly hysterical. "This isn't happening. This is a nightmare." "We'll refund your money immediately," Dr. Choi said desperately. "And we'll cover all medical expenses." "You think money fixes this?" I pressed both hands to my face, trying to breathe. "Does he know? Did you tell him?" Their silence was answer enough. "We have to inform him," Dr. Choi finally said. "Legally, he has rights." "Rights? To children created without his consent? To my pregnancy?" I slid off the table, grabbing my bag. "I need to think. Don't contact him yet. Give me time to figure this out." But Dr. Choi's expression told me everything. "We already did. We had to, for legal protection. His lawyers contacted us immediately when they found out about the theft. We confessed about the mistake this morning." The room tilted. You told him before you told me? His people are very persuasive. I'm sorry. So sorry. I fled the clinic, my mind reeling. On the taxi ride home, I researched everything I could find about Kang Ji-hoon. Every article painted him as ruthless, dangerous, untouchable. The kind of alpha who crushed anyone in his way. And I was carrying his quadruplets. For 3 days, I barely slept, jumping at every sound. I researched my legal options, contacted lawyers, tried to figure out if I could somehow keep this quiet. Every attorney gave me the same grim news. As the biological father, he had rights, especially since I'd technically used his genetic material without permission, even if unknowingly. On the 4th day, someone knocked on my apartment door. I checked the peephole and my knees went weak. Kang Ji-hoon stood in my hallway, flanked by 2 men in black suits. He looked exactly like his photos, but infinitely more intimidating in person. Even through the door, I could sense his alpha presence, a pressure that made my omega instincts scream danger. Han Seo-jun, his deep voice carried through the door. I know you're there. We need to talk about my children. My hand shook as I slowly unlocked the door. His dark eyes met mine, and I felt the full weight of his stare, calculating, intense, and absolutely furious. You and I, he said quietly, his controlled tone somehow more terrifying than shouting, have a serious problem to solve. I stepped back instinctively as Kang Ji-hoon entered my apartment, his presence filling the small space like a storm. His bodyguards remained in the hallway, but their looming shadows through the doorway made me feel trapped. Sit, he commanded, gesturing to my own couch. This is my home, I said, hating how my voice trembled. You don't get to order me around here. His eyebrow arched slightly. Fair enough. He sat first, spreading his arms across the back of the couch with unsettling casualness. Then may I request that you sit, Han Seo-jun, so we can discuss this civilly? I perched on the edge of my armchair, as far from him as possible. Up close, he was even more overwhelming, sharp jawline, perfectly styled black hair, and those predatory eyes that seemed to analyze my every breath. His expensive cologne mixed with his alpha scent, making my omega instincts go haywire. I didn't know, I blurted out. I swear, I had no idea whose sample they used. I would never. I believe you. His calm response shocked me. The clinic has been very forthcoming about their illegal operations. They'll be dealt with accordingly. The way he said, dealt with, made my blood run cold. I don't want anything from you, I continued quickly. I'll raise them myself. You can just forget this ever happened. Forget? He leaned forward, elbows on his knees. You're carrying 4 of my children, and you think I'll just walk away? They were never supposed to be yours. This whole thing is a mistake. A mistake that resulted in 4 lives. His voice hardened. My bloodline. My children. There is no universe where I abandon them. So what, you'll take them from me? Panic clawed at my throat. Sue me for custody? I used your genetic material without permission. Technically, I'm the one who. Stop. He held up one hand. I'm not here to threaten you or take anything. I'm here because we need to figure out how this works. I stared at him, suspicious. You're a crime boss. Everyone says you're ruthless, dangerous. I am. He didn't even blink. But I'm not a monster. You didn't ask for this either. We're both victims of that clinic's incompetence. Then what do you want? I want to be a father. The simplicity of his statement caught me off guard. I want to be involved in this pregnancy, in their lives. I want my children to know me. But I don't know you. You could be a murderer? A criminal? A bitter smile crossed his face. The courts have acquitted me of every charge. Whether you believe in my innocence or not is irrelevant. What matters is that those babies deserve both their parents. I wrapped my arms around my stomach protectively. I won't let them be raised in a world of violence. Neither will I. His intensity made me lean back. Do you think I want my children in danger? I've spent years keeping my business separate from civilian life precisely to avoid that. We sat in tense silence. Finally, I asked, what exactly are you proposing? Shared custody. Co-parenting. Whatever arrangement works for both of us. He pulled out a folder from inside his jacket. My lawyer drafted some options. No pressure, no tricks. Just possibilities we can discuss. I took the folder with shaking hands, flipping through pages of legal jargon. This says you'll cover all medical expenses. Quadruplets are high risk. You'll need the best care available. I can't afford to owe you. You won't owe me anything. His tone softened slightly. These are my children too. Their safety starts with keeping you healthy. I hated how reasonable he sounded. I'd expected threats, demands, maybe even violence. Instead, he was offering support. There's more, he continued. I want to be at the medical appointments. I want to know how they're developing if there are any complications. I want to be present. That's actually fair, I admitted reluctantly. I know this is overwhelming. But hearing my name from his lips sent an unexpected shiver through me. I had my genetic material stored because I never planned to have children the traditional way. My world is too dangerous for a mate or partner. This situation is as shocking to me as it is to you. Then why store it at all? His jaw tightened. Insurance. In case something happened to me, I wanted the option preserved. Someone stole it to sell on the black market. They're being handled. I didn't want to know what handled meant. Over the next hour, we talked. Really talked. He explained his concerns about the high-risk pregnancy, suggesting specialists he knew. I explained my fears about losing my independence, about being swallowed by his world. Slowly, cautiously, we found middle ground. There's one more thing, Jihun said as he prepared to leave. The pregnancy is going to get harder. Quadruplets put immense strain on your body. You'll need help. I have friends who work full-time jobs and can't be here 24/7. He stood, towering over me. I have a guest house on my property, completely separate from the main residence. You'd have privacy, security, and immediate access to help if something goes wrong. Absolutely not. I'm not moving into your compound like some what? Protected parent of my children? His eyes flashed. Your pride isn't worth risking their lives or yours. It's not about pride. It's about freedom. Freedom to struggle alone? To potentially collapse with no one around. He stepped closer and I caught the full force of his scent, cedar and smoke and something uniquely him. I'm not asking you to give up your life. I'm asking you to be practical. The first doctor's appointment came 2 weeks later. Jihun arrived at my apartment in a sleek black car, and I noticed curious neighbors peeking through curtains. Great. Now everyone would have questions. The specialist confirmed what we feared. The pregnancy was extremely high risk. My body was already struggling with the burden of 4 developing babies. Bed rest by month 5, most likely, Dr. Song explained. You'll need constant monitoring, help with daily tasks, possibly even medical intervention. I felt the walls closing in. That night, Jihun called. I saw your face at the appointment. You're terrified. 4 babies, Jihun. 4. And I'm supposed to do this alone in my tiny apartment. You're not alone. His voice was firm. Come see the guest house tomorrow. Just look. No commitment. The guest house was beautiful. A small, modern building with 2 bedrooms, a full kitchen, and windows overlooking a peaceful garden. It was nicer than anywhere I'd ever lived. The main house is a 5-minute walk, Jihun explained, keeping his distance. You'd have complete privacy. My staff can bring meals, help with cleaning, whatever you need. There's a panic button in every room connected directly to security and medical services. I wanted to refuse. But as I stood there, one hand on my growing stomach, I felt the first flutter of movement. For tiny lives depending on me to make the smart choice, not the proud one. 1-month trial, I heard myself say, if I hate it, I leave. No arguments. Something that might have been relief crossed his face. Deal. I moved in 3 days later, and my new strange life began. The first week in the guest house was awkward as hell. I tiptoed around like an intruder, hyper-aware that I was living on a crime boss's property. Ji-hoon kept his distance, only appearing for scheduled check-ins that felt more like business meetings than anything personal. Then everything changed on day 8. I woke at 3 in the morning with crippling nausea, stumbling to the bathroom and barely making it in time. The violent morning sickness left me shaking on the cold tile floor, too weak to stand. My phone was in the bedroom. The panic button was across the bathroom. I was stuck. 20 minutes later, I heard the guest house door open. Seo-jun. Ji-hoon's voice carried through the space, urgent and worried. The motion sensors showed activity, but you haven't moved in. He found me curled on the bathroom floor, tears streaming down my face. I'm sorry, I whispered. I just need a minute. Don't apologize. He was beside me instantly, one hand on my back. How long have you been here? I don't know. 20 minutes? I couldn't reach the... He scooped me up before I could finish, carrying me to the bedroom like I weighed nothing. His warmth seeped through my thin pajamas, and his scent, usually intimidating, was oddly comforting. The morning sickness has been this bad? He asked, settling me on the bed. It comes and goes. Usually I can handle it. You're handling quadruplets, Seo-jun. You don't have to handle everything alone. He disappeared and returned with water and crackers. Small sips. Slow. I obeyed, too exhausted to argue. He sat on the edge of the bed, and for the first time, I saw genuine worry in those cold eyes. I'm installing a medical alert bracelet tomorrow, he said, connected directly to my phone and the medical team. That's excessive. It's necessary. His tone left no room for argument. You're caring for babies. Your body is under constant strain. I need to know the moment something goes wrong. Something in his intensity made my omega instincts purr. I shoved that feeling down hard. After that night, everything shifted. Ji-hoon started showing up for breakfast, claiming he had work in the main house anyway. He'd bring fresh fruit, expensive pastries, weird pregnancy-craving foods I'd mentioned once in passing. How did you know I wanted pickles and chocolate? I asked one morning, staring at the bizarre combination he'd placed in front of me. You mentioned it to Dr. Song 3 days ago. He poured himself coffee with casual ease, like he belonged in my space. I have excellent memory. That's slightly creepy. That's attentive. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. There's a difference. I discovered he was funny, dry, sarcastic humor that caught me off guard. When I complained about my swollen ankles, he deadpanned, at least you can still see your feet. Give it another month. I threw a pillow at him. He caught it without looking up from his tablet. The real breakthrough came during a routine ultrasound at week 16. Dr. Song showed us each baby, pointing out their developing features. I watched Ji-hoon's face transform as he stared at the screen, the cold mask cracking to reveal something raw and vulnerable. That's my son, he whispered when Dr. Song indicated the first baby. His hand moved unconsciously toward mine on the examination table, stopping just short of touching. I took his hand. His fingers closed around mine, grip tight enough to hurt. And another son there, Dr. Song continued. This one's a daughter, and the fourth is also a son. 3 boys, 1 girl. Ji-hoon's breath hitched. I glanced over and saw tears in his eyes, actual tears from the most dangerous man in Seoul. Something inside me cracked open. That evening, he showed up at the guest house with a leather-bound notebook. What's this? I asked. Names. He sat beside me on the couch, closer than usual, our knees almost touching. I thought we could brainstorm together. If you want. We spent 3 hours debating names, laughing at ridiculous suggestions, arguing passionately about meanings and sounds. Ji-hoon wanted strong traditional names. I wanted something modern but meaningful. We compromised, created lists, crossed things out, started over. Hajun for the first boy, he suggested. It means summer, talented. I like that. I wrote it down. What about Saiwo for the second? It means divine protection. Perfect for a son who'll need all the protection he can get with 3 siblings. His smile was genuine now, transforming his entire face. My heart did something dangerous in my chest. The domestic moments multiplied. Jihoon appeared one afternoon with bags of yarn and knitting needles. You knit? I asked incredulously. My grandmother taught me. He looked almost embarrassed. I thought, maybe we could make blankets for them? We sat together in comfortable silence, his large hands surprisingly deft with the needles. I kept messing up stitches, and he'd patiently fix them, his shoulder pressed against mine. Tell me something real about you, I said suddenly. Something that's not in the news articles. He was quiet for so long I thought he wouldn't answer. I never wanted this life. My father built the organization. I inherited it at 19 when he was killed. I've spent 15 years trying to transition everything legitimate, getting out of the violent side. It's almost done. Almost. Another year, maybe 2. Then I'm just a businessman with a questionable past. He met my eyes. I want to be legitimate before they're born. I want my children to be proud of their father. The sincerity in his voice destroyed my remaining defenses. At week 20, my body hit a wall. Everything hurt constantly. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat properly, couldn't do anything without help. I hated feeling weak. Jihoon found me crying in the garden at midnight. What do you need? He knelt beside my chair. I need to not be pregnant anymore, I sobbed. I need my body back. I can't do this, Jihoon. I can't. Yes, you can. He cupped my face in his hands, thumbs wiping away tears. You're the strongest person I've ever met. You're growing for humans. You're allowed to break down. I'm supposed to be independent, not needing anyone. Needing help isn't weakness. It's human. His forehead pressed against mine, and I could feel his breath on my lips. Let me help you. Please. Why do you care so much? My voice cracked. Because somewhere between the ultrasounds and the knitting and the stupid debates about baby names, I fell completely in love with you. The world stopped. You can't, I whispered. This is just biology, the pregnancy hormones. I've been around pregnant omegas before. This isn't biology. His eyes burned with intensity. This is you. Your strength, your stubbornness, your terrible jokes, the way you hum while cooking, how you talk to the babies when you think no one's listening. It's everything about you, Seojun. I kissed him. I couldn't help it. His lips were warm and soft, and he kissed me back like I was precious, like I mattered beyond the babies I carried. When we broke apart, I was crying again. I'm terrified, I admitted. What if I'm not enough? What if I can't do this? Then we'll figure it out together. He pressed another soft kiss to my forehead. You're not alone anymore. You never have to be alone again. For the first time since this chaos began, I believed him. Week 32 arrived with a jolt of panic. I woke to wetness between my legs and a tightening sensation that made me gasp. Jihoon! I screamed, fumbling for the medical alert bracelet. He burst through the door in seconds, hair disheveled, still in his pajamas. What's wrong? I think my water broke. It's too early. They're not supposed to come until... Breathe. He was already on his phone, barking orders. The medical team is on their way. Look at me, Seojun. Look at me. I focused on his eyes as another contraction hit. I'm scared. I know. I've got you. He held my hand as the team rushed in with a stretcher, never leaving my side even as they loaded me into the ambulance. The hospital became a blur of bright lights and urgent voices. Dr. Song's face appeared above me, calm but serious. The babies need to come out now. It's early, but we have an excellent NICU. They'll be okay. Promise me, I begged, gripping her sleeve. I promise we'll do everything possible. She looked at Jihoon. Dad, you ready? He nodded, squeezing my hand so tight it hurt. Whatever he needs. The surgery was terrifying. I felt tugging and pressure but no pain, heard the medical team calling out instructions in voices that stayed professionally calm. Jihoon never stopped talking to me, his voice low and steady. You're doing amazing. Almost done. I love you. Stay with me. Then I heard it, a tiny, angry cry. First baby, it's a boy, a nurse announced. Tears streamed down my face. Another cry joined the first, then another, then finally a fourth. The sound of all 4 babies crying was the most beautiful chaos I'd ever heard. 3 boys and 1 girl, all breathing on their own, Dr. Song said, her voice filled with relief. Small but fighters. Just like their parents. They showed me each baby briefly, tiny, wrinkled, perfect little faces, before whisking them to the NICU. Jihun's hand never left mine. "You did it," he whispered, kissing my forehead. "You brought them into the world." The next week was hell. I recovered from surgery while our babies fought in the NICU, hooked to monitors and feeding tubes. I spent every possible moment beside their incubators, talking to them, willing them to grow stronger. Jihun was there for every single visit. He'd hold my wheelchair, help me sit comfortably, then spend hours reading to the babies in his deep voice. Stories, news articles, even business reports. He said they needed to hear their parents. "This is Hajun," I whispered to the largest baby, our firstborn son. "You came out screaming like you owned the world. Just like your father." Jihun smiled softly. "And this is Saiwu. Look at him, already trying to grab the nurse's finger. He's going to be trouble." Our daughter, Minji, was the smallest. I was terrified every time her monitors beeped. But she proved tougher than she looked, hitting every milestone the doctors set. "She's a fighter," the nurse said. "Takes after both of you." The youngest, Daehoon, was the quiet one. He rarely cried, just watched everything with serious dark eyes that reminded me unervingly of Jihun. 3 weeks after their birth, the babies were finally stable enough to hold. I cried when they placed Hajun in my arms for the first time, really held him, skin to skin, feeling his tiny heartbeat against my chest. "Hi, baby," I whispered. "I'm your papa. I've been waiting to hold you." Jihun held Minji with such careful tenderness that my heart ached. This dangerous man, completely undone by a 3-pound baby girl. "I'll protect you forever," he promised her. "Nothing will ever hurt you." Recovery was slow and exhausting. My body had been through war, and some days I could barely get out of bed. Jihun hired a team of nurses for the babies, but he refused to delegate the important moments. He changed diapers, learned to burp them properly, walked the floors at 3 a.m. when they cried. I'd wake to find him asleep in the rocking chair, a baby on his chest, looking more peaceful than I'd ever seen him. "You're good at this," I told him one night, watching him expertly soothe a fussy Saiwu. I had good motivation to learn. He glanced up with a soft smile. "Besides, they're easy compared to negotiating with crime families." "Did you just compare our babies to the Mafia?" "If the screaming fits, yes." I threw a burp cloth at him. 2 months after their birth, all 4 babies came home. The guest house transformed into organized chaos. Cribs, changing tables, mountains of tiny clothes. We moved like a well-oiled machine, taking shifts, supporting each other through the exhaustion. One night, after finally getting all 4 babies down, I found Jihun on the couch, staring at nothing. "Hey," I sat beside him. "You okay?" "I finalized the last deal today." His voice was quiet. "The organization is completely legitimate now. No more illegal operations. Just businesses, investments, real estate." "Jihun, that's incredible." "I did it for them. For you." He turned to me, eyes shining. "I wanted to be someone worthy of this family." "You already were." I took his hand. "The moment you chose to stay, to help, to love us, you were already worthy." He pulled me close, and I melted into his warmth. "Marry me." Pulled back shut. "What?" "Marry me, Seo Jun." He cupped my face gently. "Not because of the babies or obligation. Because I love you. Because I want forever with you. Because you make me believe in things I thought I'd never have." "You're serious." "I've never been more serious about anything." He kissed me softly. "I know it's fast, I know it's crazy, but when has anything about us been normal?" I laughed through tears. We went from a clinic mistake to 4 babies to this. Normal was never an option. Is that a yes? "Yes, you impossible man." "Yes." 6 months later, we stood in the garden where I'd once cried in frustration, surrounded by close friends and family. 4 baby carriers sat in the front row, our children sleeping peacefully through their parents' wedding. I never imagined this, I said during our vows, voice shaking. That a mistake could become the greatest gift of my life. You and our babies, you're my home, Jihoon. You taught me what love really means, he replied, tears streaming down his face. Not control or possession, but partnership. Trust. Choosing each other every single day. I choose you, Seoj. Today and forever. When we kissed, our friends cheered, and I heard one of the babies start crying. Probably Saiwoo, always demanding attention. Welcome to married life, I laughed against Jihoon's lips. Wouldn't have it any other way. That night, after the celebration ended and the babies were finally asleep, we stood in the nursery watching them breathe. Thank you, Jihoon whispered. For what? For being brave enough to keep them. For giving me a chance. For loving me despite everything. I leaned into him. Thank you for showing me that asking for help isn't weakness. That love doesn't mean losing yourself. That family can come from the most unexpected places. Hajun stirred in his crib, making soft baby noises. Minji's tiny hand stretched toward Daehoon's crib. Sai was slept on, oblivious to the world. 4 perfect miracles born from chaos. 1 impossible love built on trust. Our family wasn't conventional. It would never be easy. But standing there with Jihoon's arms around me and our children sleeping peacefully, I knew without doubt, it was exactly right. Ready for the rest of our lives? Jihoon asked. I smiled. With you? Always.